Want to keep talking about Occupy Wall Street, and to do that is writer and blogger Michael Brooks from theelusiveobvious.com. He's also a former strategist at Civic Actions. Michael, great to talk to you.
Great to be here, David.
So we've been going back and forth for a few weeks now about media coverage of Occupy Wall Street. There's a variety of coverage. A lot of corporate mainstream media coverage only started when there was something negative to talk about: arrests, misbehavior by protest, which is absolutely no surprise. One of the criticisms I'm hearing is, what do these protesters stand for? What issues do they care about? And that's actually really easy to find. There's a list of over 20 issues that they've indicated are important to them. The real question I want to address with you, and you have a blog post about Occupy Wall Street up on your website now, is what is the mechanism that would actually translate these protests into real change? I don't know that I see it.
Well, I think there's a couple of different steps going on here. I mean, the post that I have up is basically arguing that one of the reasons that this movement has been able to grow so quickly and so organically is because there isn't actually a lot of kind of specific granular detail. There are these very broad demands, and there's a sense that, which is absolutely true, that Wall Street caused a catastrophe and hasn't been held accountable. And that brings a lot of people out, and that provides a kind of flexibility and openness for people organizing around these issues. And I think that that's really important in some ways, just intrinsically, for two reasons that already are a kind of net positives. One, it's really important that in issues that are inherently incredibly complex, like when you're talking about Wall Street and you're talking about derivatives and bailouts and big macroeconomic questions, it's really important that people feel that they can take some ownership over them beyond the kind of technocratic and really kind of granular and complex questions. It doesn't mean that there's an excuse for, being misinformed or anything else, but these people, in fact, they are informed. They are talking about, banks skipping out on their tax bills. They are addressing accurately a stagnant economy and a booming financial sector. The other reason it's important, and the way in which it does mirror the Tea Party, although I do think there are some real crucial differences between Occupy Wall Street and the Tea Party, is that the Tea Party definitely was able to reframe the discussion. So, President Obama went in and did what I think is maybe one of the most annoying tropes in American political discourse. And he did the whole, families balance their budgets, why can't Washington, blah, blah, blah. That's the Tea Party frame. And that injected itself in. Now, Occupy Wall Street, you have, Bernanke a couple days ago saying, I can't blame them. You have Obama acknowledging the frustration. That in and of itself obviously doesn't do anything, but it reorients the compass. We've had, a crisis of several years where a lot of this kind of anger has been directed at, the economy crashed, I hate teachers, the economy crashed, blah, blah, blah. It's important that it be re-anchored at, some of the roots of the problem. So those are two immediate net positives.
Well, but take me through the issues that many people are addressing. So to pick one out, the foreclosure disaster, including all of the steps that led to banks taking on bad mortgages, foreclosing in ways that seem to go against regulations. One example. The other example, increased income inequality in the country and all of the things that come with that. I support the Occupy Wall Street protests. I just don't see how all of these people out on the street will actually make anyone at Bank of America say, let's change what we're doing about foreclosures. Do you see what I'm getting at?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think, though, that what happens and what makes this a kind of annoying or potentially tricky conversation for, people like us or people in think tanks or people who have been kind of looking to galvanize movements around these types of issues is that, in the beginning, as I said, I do think that there's something really important about people just even assuming some ownership around these issues. Because you could look at it from the opposite direction, which is, this stuff really started accelerating, obviously, a couple of months before the election of Obama. All these things were happening. You elected a pretty seemingly relatively progressive president. overwhelming Democratic majorities, and it's time to go to work. And I think you can definitely make a credible case that a lot of the worst hemorrhaging has stopped. There has been some real improvements in different areas like healthcare. There have even been some financial reforms. But certainly the issues that you just highlighted, which are the foreclosures and the kind of skyrocketing income inequality, that hasn't happened, and it hasn't happened through the kind of normal means that maybe people out in the street would expect it to have been meant through, like electing an inspiring presidential candidate. So again, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to lead to the type of concrete outcomes that you're highlighting, but it does mean that it's an attempt at a new track, and it's taking some energy from below and at least reorienting it towards those really important questions.
Well, I think it's really great that a lot of people who have never really been involved in politics and who were frustrated because of not having a job or losing a job or being underemployed and never really connected that to politics are engaged. I think that that's
Exactly.
absolutely huge. The question is, thinking very specifically about one of these people, you know, a 24-year-old college graduate, hasn't able to find a job, never was involved in politics, is now out on the street at Occupy Wall Street. What's the best course of action for that individual to take in the next month to have the best shot at affecting change?
Wow, that's interesting. I think that being there is definitely a good thing. I do really want to kind of acknowledge that and stick with that point. I think beyond that, obviously, there's a balance here where people on Occupy Wall Street, that 24-year-old, is going to need to get more deeply specific about what to do about those foreclosures, what to do about income inequality. But that can also be, even as you get into those specific policy questions, that can also be in the same more kind of creative, decentralized, and flexible spirit that you do see in Occupy Wall Street. I think in some ways you could see a lot of the work I did at Civic Actions. Civic Actions is a political consultancy, but it's rooted in the open software movement. And when you talk to people who are rooted in the open software movement, this kind of sense of decentralized organizing, people taking ownership, that's a little bit less alien. So I think, that 24-year-old should be thinking about income inequality, foreclosure issues. He should also be thinking about what would a real policy agenda for people in his age group that would really immediately benefit him, what would that actually look like? For creating jobs, for supporting new entrepreneurship, and how could that kind of momentum be turned into, if you're talking in the youth case, maybe some actual, youth-specific political advocacy or pressure, so that youth aren't just sort of, a part of getting Obama elected, a part of Occupy Wall Street. If you're coming at it from the angle of, I did everything I was supposed to do, I graduated from college, here I am, I'm 24, 100,000 in debt on Wall Street, start thinking really specifically around ways of advocating around those issues. But again, it is really important that people are coming together and thinking a little bit, at least as a group, around this. Like there's a context for this, especially if I've, done all the things that I was supposed to do.
Well, I definitely want people to go on to theelusiveobvious.com, check out your latest post. You've also got another post upcoming on Occupy Wall Street. I think it's fantastic. Michael Brooks, writer, blogger, former political strategist at Civic Actions. Really great to talk to you, and we're going to keep watching this, so we'll have you back.
Oh, it was a total pleasure. And I just have to say, I still do a bit of work with Civic Action, so it's not all in the former.
All right, very
But
good.
thank you so much, David. Great to be here.